We all have a voice in our head that makes judgments about any given situation. Sometimes the judgment is helpful because it helps us escape harm or avoid mistakes. But sometimes the voice is harmful when it's overly critical by putting you down and making you doubt yourself. That's what I'm talking about today. 7 signs that your inner critic is too harsh and making you feel hostile toward yourself. I'm Dr. Tracey Marks, a psychiatrist, and I make mental health education videos. Number 1, you're never satisfied with your work. You have a perfectionistic tendency and you set unrealistic goals. When you're working on something, you may find yourself saying, "Is that it? Are you really done with this?" No matter how hard you try, you can't seem to be content with your work. You're always finding faults and ways to improve, which can lead to feeling like you're never good enough. Number 2, you dwell on your mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, but when you're too self-critical, you dwell on them long after they've happened. You might even beat yourself up over small slip-ups that don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Number 3, you spend a lot of time comparing yourself to others. When you're too self-critical, you often find yourself comparing your own work or abilities to others. Even if the person to whom you're comparing yourself to hasn't even achieved as much as you have, you still find a reason why they're at an advantage over you. For example, suppose people praise you for doing really good work by seeing the big picture of things and helping people organize. And you think, well, that's nice, but seeing the big picture hasn't earned me more money. Nancy, who's not good at planning and seeing the big picture, got promoted over me. So for you, being good at planning still leaves you feeling unfulfilled. Number 4, you blame yourself for all the negative things that happen around you. You spend a lot of time deconstructing events and see your actions as the reason that something bad happened, even if there's 5 degrees of separation between you and the negative outcome. Even if you acknowledge to yourself that you really are on the fringe of the blame and not directly responsible, you still overfocus on your shortcomings and the role that they played. And what you're doing here is magnifying your contribution well beyond what it actually was. Number 5, you don't try hard for things, give up easily, or don't try at all because you believe, what's the point? You're going to mess it up anyway. Or why bother? Things never work out in your favor anyway. Even if you don't see your ineptitude as the reason for failure, you believe life and circumstances are just against you, like being jinxed to always get the bad deal because you attract bad outcomes. So it may be bad luck, but there's something about you that just attracts bad luck. Number 6, you're never satisfied with your appearance. You may have a hard time seeing yourself as desirable. You wished you looked differently or spoke differently, and these feelings affect your confidence around others. It could also affect your relationships if you project these thoughts and feelings onto other people. Projection is an unconscious process where you attribute your own thoughts to someone else. I say that you don't like me and think I'm unattractive. Now, you may think that, but you never told me that or ever said anything critical to indicate that. But I think that about myself, but I say that it's what you think about me. So that's how your inner critic can affect what you think about other people if you assume that they think the same about you that you think about yourself. And then there's number 7. You feel guilty about a lot of things, even if they're in the remote past. And this is similar to blaming yourself for things, but it takes it a step further. With basic self-blame, you may keep pushing yourself to do better and better and may never feel satisfied that you've finally done your best. So that's more of an aiming for perfection thing. But with guilt, you can't forgive yourself for decisions that you made or things that you said that may or may not have resulted in a negative outcome. Here's an example. This is not real. John proposes to me after graduation. John wants to get married and immediately have children. I turned down John's proposal because I want to travel the world before I settle down with a family. I take a job in Europe, and that's the end of the relationship with John. I become very successful in my career and don't get too serious with relationships because I want to get back to the United States eventually, and I don't want another John situation where I'm ready to go home, but my Italian stallion doesn't want to follow me back to the States. I make it back to the US as a single woman in my late 30s and can't find a life partner. I spend a decade blaming and eventually hating myself for all the decisions I made along the way to put my career first over relationships. Now, that's a long example, and anyone can be disappointed by those same set of circumstances. But the difference is in my level of acceptance and self-compassion. It's one thing to be disappointed at the life milestones that I missed out on and have regrets, but it's another thing to internalize the blame to the extent that I'm overloaded with guilt, shame, and self-loathing. Stay tuned for part 2 of this topic of confronting your inner critic. It will publish next week, and when it's out, I'll have it linked in this video and it'll appear right here. Thanks for watching. See you next time.